Welcome to this flight of the Retail Pilot. I'm Ken Pilot, former CEO and current brand advisor, investor, and board member. I'm thrilled to share with you some of the insights from retail's leaders and legends, as well as my perspective on retail today. This podcast is sponsored by the following. Want to drive more traffic and conversions on your e-commerce site? Brands that use video see 41% more traffic from search engines. And that's just the start. Meet Firework, the leader in AI-powered video commerce. Trusted by brands like L'Oreal and Unilever, Firework turns any page into an immersive, shoppable experience. From pre-recorded long-form content to short-form and everything in between. With Firework, you can easily integrate social media videos into your product pages and run pre-recorded digital showrooms with shoppable content. Plus, Firework offers AI-powered virtual assistants to personalize shopper experience and drive higher conversion. That's why I'm an investor and advisor. Learn more at firework.com. Welcome to the Retail Pilot. My guest today on the show is Lizanne Kindler, Executive Chair and CEO of KnitWell Group, one of America's largest specialty apparel companies, overseeing iconic brands including Ann Taylor, Chico's, Talbot's, Lane Bryant, Loft, Soma, and White House Black Market. A native of Denmark and graduate of Copenhagen Business School, Kindler began her career at Ann Taylor, advancing through key merchandising executive roles before joining Talbot's, where she led a return to growth and product innovation. She guided Sycamore Partners acquisitions, integrating multiple brands under KnitWell's multi-brand structure and driving operational best practices. Kindler is recognized for her strategic leadership, product expertise, and commitment to community partnerships, such as the Breast Cancer Research Foundation and Dress for Success. She also serves as chair of the board of directors of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, reflecting her industry influence and advocacy for women in business. Lizanne, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ken. Excited to be here with you.
Well, it's great to see you. And we're both freezing, you in Boston, me in New York. We should be in Florida. I mean, don't you have a few businesses
I
to
know,
run in
but
Florida?
Even the Floridians think it's cold down there.
Yeah, it must be like in the 50s. Yeah. They're freaking out. They're closing schools.
Exactly.
Well, let's get into it because your journey to where you are today is a bit different than others with whom I've spoken to. Talk to us a little bit about what shaped your leadership style and helped you rise to the CEO role.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. But I'd say probably a couple things that come to mind when I think about sort of my journey at large and my role today. What shaped me. So early on, at the age of 11, I grew up in Denmark, and I took a trip to Washington D.C. to visit my aunt, who was the president of back then a chain of department stores called Garfinckles. She took me to work that summer. And I had my first experience with the world of fashion retail, and I was hooked. It was magical. I remember feeling the buzz, the energy, the beauty, the engagement with associates and customers. And she even took me to the distribution center, and it was so different from anything I'd ever experienced in my life. So when I came back after that summer, I said to my parents, I want to do what she's doing. I didn't quite know what that fully was, but it kind of set me on the path to say, I want to be in fashion retail and I want to move to the US. And that was my goal. So that was probably the thing that shaped me the most in terms of just being bitten by the bug and like loving being in fashion retail. I would say my style was my leadership style has really been shaped by my upbringing and my parents. I grew up with deaf parents. So I was often put in situations where I was the listener to take lots of information in situations that I knew nothing about. And I had to synthesize and translate that into sign language and for my parents to understand it and answer or direct. So that situation of consuming lots of information and being in situations with, I didn't necessarily know anything about, and distilling and getting to the core is very ingrained in me from childhood. And then in addition to that, my parents are very positive, optimistic, adventurous, curious, and never let the fact that they are deaf get in the way of anything they wanted to do. And so that sort of really shaped who I am and how I think about life in a very sort of positive and adventurous way. And when I think about my North Star of how I think about running a business and leading a team of people, it goes back to my early days at Loft, I would say, when KnitWell had first formed the division of Loft. And we were a small, scrappy entrepreneurial team, super talented people that just wanted to do right and grow the business. And we were collaborative. We had each other's backs. We were innovative. It was fast. It was fun. And that was sort of like that feeling of being part of something special, working in a team of collaborative environment that just was driven by doing the right thing and growing really has been a North Star for me in terms of thinking about environments and how I lead and the fun of being in retail.
One thing that you said, I think, strikes a real chord with me. My career, like yours, began with an experience in stores,
Yeah,
working on the floor, working with
yeah,
customers, seeing kind of the
yeah.
magic of
The
merchandising.
magic. Yeah.
I don't know how much that is happening today or to what degree it's giving rise to this new group of employees that are joining the retail space. Is that a lost art or a lost hope?
I don't think so, Ken. I think even if I think about my own two kids, 26 and 24, being in a store and experiencing and touching and feeling and having that experience of storytelling and product coming together, engaging with someone, talking about what's happening, fit and wardrobing and fashion and the buzz, the energy, the music. It's a little bit different today, right? Because the online business is obviously so strong, but I still think that there's magic in the store environment. And that is what, when you think about the world of retail, how much, 75% today still business done in stores, right? On the average. So I think there's still magic in stores.
I'm a store person as well, and I know you are
Yeah.
at the core. Talk to us a little bit about your rise to the CEO role. I mean, you were in the merchandising area, you were hands-on, and then you moved up through the organization and eventually led what has been an amazing partnership with Sycamore, taking over Chico's, which came with which came with White House Black
Yeah.
Market and Soma. But
Yeah.
that's a long journey.
Mhm.
Synthesize that for us a little bit and how that occurred for you.
I think, Ken, I I I really think of myself at the core of it as a brand builder. I love brands, and I love brands that have a clear DNA, that have a clear reason for being. I love actually being part of creating that clarity and creating that storytelling. And I think that's very, very much has been an advantage for me in my journey as a merchant, but also eventually as someone who could take on multiple brands and create that excitement and that clarity around the vision for why does a brand exist? What's the reason for existence? Now, if you combine that, I think, with the fact that I think I'm pretty savvy financially. So operating I mean, obviously for any CEO today, there's complexity and the financial side of it is so incredibly important, whether you're public or private equity owned or even private owned. But I think that savvy coupled with my passion for brand building and storytelling has allowed me to propel and manage across multiple brands and really combining all of this into one company, one banner, KnitWell Group over time. And then I think Ken, as most CEOs would say, being a leader and being a good leader is really instrumental when you're managing large teams and lots of complexity. And so I think it's like my right, left, and ability to be a good leader has served to me well over the years and allowed me to grow in my career and just take on more and more.
It's interesting. You talk about being a good leader,
Yeah.
and again, as I said in your bio, you're overseeing what 8 companies right now,
Yeah, we think of it as 4 divisions and 8 brands. Yeah.
and this began. You were the CEO of Talbot's, Lane Bryant, Loft, and Ann
Yeah.
Taylor,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then really 2 years ago, I think this is
Yeah.
the 2 year
Yeah.
anniversary of
Yeah.
when you took over,
Yeah.
or you bought out the Chico's group.
Correct.
How is that integration gone?
Yeah.
Is it on schedule? What are the challenges that you faced bringing 2 organizations together?
Yeah. I mean, really 3 when you think of it, right? From Talbot's being a standalone to acquiring what back then was Athena, and Loft and Lane, and now acquiring Chico's FAS and merging. Well, listen, I mean, integration work is it's a heavy lift, I can tell you that. It requires clarity and focus and tenacity. You really, I think a lot of companies that acquire and try to merge, they think of like scale, synergies, cost savings, how do you integrate? And I think oftentimes, at least from my studying, and this is not particular to fashion retail, but companies give up on a lot of that because it's actually really hard and it takes time, it takes commitment, it's a heavy lift. And so I think companies go, oh, well, let's skip that part, right? And then in the end you kind of lose the purpose. So for me, the last couple years have been really focused on actually delivering the integration, and that's everywhere from back end logistics, finance systems, benefits, HR, simple things like harmonizing PTO time. Every company had a different policy. So but getting it done, doing it and delivering on it is what creates the power of a portfolio company that has a integrated back end, right? Like that's where you get the scale and you can really win on leveraging that across. And if you don't do the integration work, you lose that opportunity.
Looking at this from the outside in, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but as I watched, the company develop over the past couple of years, it looked as though that you had many direct reports across the organization without having, I don't wanna say top leadership, but a brand president on top of each of the brands that you're managing, and that's transitioned a bit to where we are today. How many direct reports did you actually have at one point, and how many direct reports do you have today?
Oh, okay. Well, I can't say that out loud, Ken.
Okay. Just thought I would take a
No,
shot.
no, it was a lot. And listen,
Many.
a huge learning for me as a CEO transitioning from a single brand to a multi-brand, and just understanding, how do you structure yourself? Like how do you, I don't know, I think I have immense capacity, but I also recognize that, there comes a point where you have to structure yourself the right way to be successful. And the past couple years have been a lot of focus on what is the right structure, and not just for me, but for the enterprise, for all of the leaders. And we have evolved into a brand president structure alongside with hiring a division CEO for Chico's FAS, Trish Donnelly. And that's been amazing to really watch that evolution, and for me to step back and start to really play a different role with that leadership in place. And exciting, really exciting, but a big change. Yeah.
As you know, I do some work with Yop, who's your CTO partner
Yes.
in the organization, who's
Yeah.
amazing, and
Yeah.
really, I wonder about what his plate looks like trying to integrate
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
technologies across
Yeah.
so many companies. I mean, it's a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. And again, I think, for all of us, I think when you're sitting in a key leadership role, it comes down to, really organizing yourself around talent and the right structure. And that's been a big part of acquiring multiple companies and merging and integrating and really solidifying like what is the right structure for all of the leadership groups to be able to win over time. And it comes down to, really having great talent in the right roles across. And Yap was quick on the IT side to actually create a back end unified team across the enterprise and structure that with key leaders that could work across the organization, across all the entire portfolio.
Let's talk a little bit more about tech. When you think about
Okay.
leveraging technology to
Yeah.
create operational efficiencies and reduce costs across brands,
Mhm.
how, how is that going?
Great question. I mean, that obviously I think is top of mind for anyone leading an organization today, given the rapid rise of the importance of AI, right? But technology and the evolution of technology has always been part of our journey, right? Like that is part of what creates efficiency in the background and allows, I say to the teams, it's a well-oiled engine is what allows us to focus on the things we really want to do. So technology is an important part of that. And today with AI, really understanding and testing into where can AI be helpful on two fronts really: efficiency, speed, and intelligence. And then second to that, transforming the ways that we're working, transforming the ways that we're engaging with customers, right? Like that's a new frontier for us, right? Like the last time that happened was, the internet. And so I think being on top of that and thinking of it in a exciting and opportunistic way, but also understanding that it's early days and we have to be thoughtful about, yeah, I call them all the shiny bright objects out there, what's right for the company, what's right for the team, what's right for the brand. And ultimately, when we think about transformation, what's right for each of the customer segments.
Listen, you mentioned AI, and I'm sure there's a fair amount of angst in the organization, as there is within any organization, around AI, job replacement. Am I secure? What do I need to
Yeah.
learn?
Yeah.
How are you managing that mindset?
I think we've gone about it in a way where we have encouraged associates that are truly interested and curious about what you can do with AI to come forth and help us test into solutions and become the ambassadors to the balance of the organization in promoting the goodness that we can experience with AI. So I think the sort of more grassroots approach, but also being very transparent about what are we trying to do with AI? Where are we going with this? And this isn't a job elimination situation. This is about working smarter and freeing up time to do things that we all want to do but can't get to because things are complicated, processes are complicated, systems are complicated. Um, so we've been testing into some solutions with smaller teams in the organization that can really help us tell the story around how exciting this can be and what opportunities AI can bring for us in a positive way.
It's great. I read a post by Mindy Grossman, who we both know
Yeah,
well, and
yeah,
her comment on AI was actually very similar to what you just said, really looking to celebrate the wins and the success stories of members of the team to
exactly.
make it feel inclusive
Yeah,
rather than pushing AI down
right,
on the team, which
right.
could be more intimidating.
Yeah, I'll
But
give you an example, Ken. We have a very relationship focused culture in our stores, right? Our customers for most of the brands that we have are really based on the one of our successes is the relationship that we have with our customers. We do a lot of outreach in the stores, and writing a personalized email or text, you can imagine, with hundreds of thousands and millions of customers, that's really time consuming and almost impossible. So with an AI tool, we've been able to test into with a group of associates how we can do personalized email communication with our customers with an AI tool that has access to some information in our database and can help craft the emails. That's transformative That frees up a lot of time. It allows you to still have a personalized approach, but at the same time, it frees up time to actually get on the floor and work with the customers in a relationship oriented way. So, transformative and those associates can now share the story and be the ambassadors of how this can create a situation where they can still do their job the way they want to do it and actually better and more effectively.
Do you typically test these ideas with a brand at a time, or is it an all brand at once approach?
Yeah. In this moment, we have tested in smaller groups with individual brands to understand the initial effectiveness and ensure that it makes sense. And then with the idea that we can scale.
As we talked about earlier, and I want to stay on the store topic because I know you are very passionate about the stores, as am I. What else are you seeing that's happening in the stores, or are you trying to create that continues to improve the customer experience at KnitWell?
I mean, I go back to, I'd say probably two things. And maybe one is anchored in this idea that I still believe that there's a lot of magic in retail. And it's about how are our brands showing up in store? Anything from new ways of thinking about the lease line, new ways of thinking about the entry. There's a lot of dynamic content that now is showing up in stores, right? Through screens and video. And how do you think about marketing when you go into a store? New ways of storytelling. So I think how we show up is one part of it, and I think that there are really a lot of changes there. And I am constantly out there, and of course, traveling around not just the U.S. but Europe, checking out new formats, new ways of presenting, and then it comes down to the experience, and that is the engagement with our associates and how we create a an experience that for the customer is frictionless, easy, and exciting. It's got to be easy, right? Nobody needs anything to be complicated, right? How you have access to inventory, how you have access to e-com exclusive product when you're in stores, arming our associates with data that tells them about purchase history, about almost like an old-fashioned way of clienteling. I think about the client book. We have a digital clienteling system that allows our associates in a really quick way to get great information about the customers that they're working with. So preparing and being personalized and making it frictionless and easy, I think is a huge part of what is happening in the environment today. How do you make returns easy, right? Like e-com business is growing, and that means when you've got a lot of stores, there are returns to stores. So how do you make that experience easy? So I think of that quite a bit. So excitement storytelling alongside with this sort of personalized, easy approach for customers. It should be seamless and frictionless. What's your experience when you're in a fitting room? How do you make that easy? Brand by brand, obviously, you have to be clear about what customers are looking for. They're not all looking for the same thing, right? Like an Ann Taylor customer is not looking for the same thing that a Loft customer is looking for. An Ann Taylor customer is more of appointment setting, come in, it's about me, I'm in, I'm out, I'm busy, I'm fast, right? Like I want to get in and out. For Loft, it's community. I want to have some fun. I want to talk. Like, tell me what's going on, what's happening. So, also understanding who the segment of customer is that we're catering to is really important for the in store experience. It's evolving and it's great. I think there's lots of opportunity to continue to watch that and really ensure that we're on top of and thinking ahead of as the world of how you shop becomes a little bit more complicated. I think a huge part of what we have to do is make it super easy for our customers.
One of the challenges I've seen, and it's maybe dissipating a bit, but it's creating that unified approach to the customer,
Yeah.
stores versus online.
Yeah.
Two teams, obviously wanting to build the entire business, but generally with different goals, and sometimes those goals can be in conflict.
Mhm.
How do you get the store teams to want to actually drive business online? You mentioned there might be exclusive product online that I
Mhm.
might want to serve up to the customer from the store, how do you get the stores to take that on and generate those sales?
So I think a lot of it is education and communication and making sure that we're appropriately sharing why we're doing what we're doing and how that helps the experience for the customer. So the value of an omni-channel shopper to any brand is greater than a single channel shopper, right? So ensuring that we're nurturing that part of the relationship and that our associates in both channels that are, both the folks that are focused on delivering in e-com as well as the folks that are focused on delivering in store, understanding that the easier we make the shared experience for our customer, the more we get out of her, the more loyal she stays, the more frequent she shops, the more she enjoys her experience. So I think it's making sure everybody understands that it's a benefit to the entire team when we've got omni-channel shoppers, and making that a frictionless experience no matter where our customers are is really the goal of the business.
One of the big opportunities I still see today at the stores is driving online sales.
Mhm.
And one of the metrics sometimes I look at, and I'm not asking you for your metric because you will turn me down on the number, but I'll put mine out there anyway. One of the metrics I like to look at is what percent of store sales is actually being driven online. And I've seen the numbers as low as 2 or 3%, with as high as 10%.
Mm,
And the opportunity really centering around how easy is it for a store
mm,
associate to
correct.
put online product in the customer's in-store
Correct.
basket and have them check out. The
Yep.
fluidity of the
Yeah.
process, the ease
Yeah.
of the process.
Got it.
Is that where is that on the radar at
Yeah.
KnitWell?
I mean, I would say to you that we have a best in class order management system in the background, that really allows for that connectivity. And again, our digital clienteling tool and the ability to work with a customer and add to basket and then go to the POS and ring and have it be one transaction and be seamless has been paramount in terms of how we have been able to encourage and support the channels working together and seamlessly. And Ken, listen, I mean, our stores are also fulfilling orders from online. I mean, that there are many distribution centers in a lot of ways, right? And how we operationalize that and make it as easy as we can possibly make it for our associates in the stores is critical. Otherwise, they're not going to be willing to do it, right? And they shouldn't. It takes time away from the things that they love doing, which is being on the floor working
Yeah.
with our customers. So, we often talk about sort of the operational side versus the clienteling side of being in the store, right? And a huge part of our job as leaders is to ensure that the operational side is smooth and seamless.
I find it so fascinating, the opportunity to fill from stores, the importance of filling from stores,
Yeah.
both in terms of speed to customer,
Yeah.
cost efficiency, and actually making stores more profitable by taking product out of slow moving stores
Yeah.
and sending it to the customer versus just marking it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I
There's
think
an
that's
inventory optimization component,
huge,
right?
huge
Yeah.
opportunity, and not one that's easy to deal with, certainly, but
No.
a big priority.
Yeah. And
Wh-
setting the right parameters and making sure, you're not sending orders to stores that don't have the inventory, et cetera, right? Like there's a lot of guardrails around that to make sure that we're not wasting resources, time, and energy, and really making it a very seamless and smooth experience for associates and our customers both.
I have to ask because it's hard for me to wrap my head around managing 8 brands, overseeing, having responsibility. How do you spend your time with each brand? What are your specific touch
Mhm,
points
mhm.
to understand the product, the messaging, the presentation, the teams? How does one do that with only 24 hours in a day?
Well, my ability to focus and compartmentalize is very strong. So, the most important thing that I can bring to the company is to ensure that my talent, which sits on the brand building and the storytelling side, right? Like that I ensure that I don't lose that in what we're doing. And that doesn't mean that I have to be in there and assort, sweaters for the Chico's brand. That's not what I do. But setting the tone and making sure I have the right touch points, right? Like I'm up 50,000 feet, but where do I go down 5,000 feet? Like how do I straddle that? And how do I carve out my time to be able to do that? So having right leaders in the brands is obviously critical. That's number one. And then my touch point with them in which parts of the process to come in and sprinkle and ensure that we're aligned, right? That things are moving in the right direction. It's been an evolution for me to think about how I'm using my time that way, right? Because obviously I'm involved on the financial side, on the operational side, on the strategic side, right? Looking into the future, how are we creating strategies and where are we going? And that there's a day-to-day block and tackle component to retail that you can't, you got to do. You got to be in there. You have to understand on a semi-daily basis what's going on as well. So at the end of the day, having the right structure and the right talent, really, really working with immensely talented people and being a partner in the right way is how I'm able to structure my time. But listen, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's a lot, but the leadership teams are doing a phenomenal job, and so for me to insert myself in the right places in the process, is where we are today, and that is manageable and really allows me to bring my talent, but also bring my role as a CEO to unlock the potential. Like sometimes I see things people don't see because I'm farther away, and I think unlocking that potential is equal part of what I do. So balancing that again, like what am I doing all the way up at 50,000 feet, and when do I insert myself at the 5,000 foot level, is key.
Well, staying with 50,000 feet,
Yeah,
your headquarters, you have a number of different locations from
correct.
where these companies operate, so I assume that you're traveling quite a bit to see and meet with the teams. Just
Yeah.
share with us where's the company based, or where are the key headquarters located?
Yeah, yeah. Well, great question. So, as you noted, we formed KnitWell just over 2 years ago. So, we've got really four main campuses. We've got one in Hingham with the Talbots and Haven, well within brand. Then we've got one in New York with the Ann Taylor and Loft brands. And then we've got Fort Myers with Chico's, White House, and Soma. And then we've got Columbus, Ohio with Lane Bryant. So it's a good bit of travel. And that's part of what I do. Organize myself around the travel too. Yes.
Well, it's good. I'm sure you get some quiet time when you're in the air. I used to look forward to traveling a bit where you could do the outreach, no one could really do the inbound as well.
I get on the plane and I pray for Wi-Fi.
Simple request.
If I don't have Wi-Fi, it's not a good flight.
If you had to pick a favorite part of the job, okay, let me phrase it this way.
Hmm.
What's the first meeting you want to see on your calendar on a given day? Because that's what you enjoy most.
No doubt what I enjoy most is engaging on the product and the marketing side. So any type of concept presentation spectrum, a review of a marketing concept, that gets me super excited. But to be honest, Ken, I'm equally excited about strategy and I love a good financial meeting. So I'm excited about the entirety of what I can get involved in and where I can help create focus and clarity and ensure that we're on track and really working towards the goals and the targets that we have.
Before we hop into rapid fire, I just want to follow up on one thing you just mentioned. I want to talk a little bit about marketing,
Yeah.
because that seems to be somewhat elusive for many brands. It's much more expensive to market online. As you look at 2026,
Mhm.
what are some of the marketing strategies that you're looking to employ across the KnitWell group, or marketing strategies that are really working that you're most excited about?
Can listen, this is a great moment for, I think, vertical retail and for brands because brand marketing is really back at the center of how we're thinking about our business. We've been through a long journey of being very performance marketing focused, and I think that's still critical. But brand is at the forefront again, and I think having cultural relevancy and heat around your brand and thinking about how the brands are showing up in exciting new ways with both the existing customers and to acquire new customers is very much at the forefront of how we're thinking about 26 and beyond. And, good example, we had a fantastic marketing campaign for Loft last year, the summer of Loft, and had incredible net new to file acquisition moment. And so we're looking to build on those types of campaigns and really being mindful about how we show up in a culturally relevant way for each of our brands.
Are collaborations part of the formula? Does that come into
Sure.
the mix?
Yeah, all things like who are we working with? Where are we showing? There's a sport, entertainment, music moment that's really showing up in a big way right now, right? Brands partnering across the board and doing great collaborations. And that's very much part of what we're looking at for 26 and beyond as well.
I'm hearing a strong buzz around influencers, which is not necessarily new, but I'm hearing it maybe for a different reason, which I think is somewhat interesting. With AI and
Yeah,
the agentic move, whether it's AEO or GEO, the
yeah,
driving traffic to your site,
yeah.
micro influencers put out more messaging for
Hmm.
those AI
Yeah,
engines to pick
yeah,
up and drive more traffic to the site.
yeah, yeah.
Is that are micro influencers part of your overarching strategy?
Yeah, I think content creators, micro influencers, like there's a lot of stuff going on in that particular vein as well. And, more for some of our brands than for others, right? More important for some of our brands than others, but very much part of what we're tapping into. Yes. It's a very exciting moment, I think, for vertical retail brands and for fashion retail, period. It's great. It's great that, that focus on brand marketing is really back at the center and goes back to that sort of storytelling and our ways of exciting customers to come and join us.
Lysana, I'm gonna kinda go back to where you and I met, which is years back. We were
Yeah,
on a call. I think you were running Talbots at the time,
yeah,
and you were launching a company called Haven Within.
yeah. Haven well within. Yeah.
Haven Well Within.
Yes. Yes.
I've already abbreviated it.
Yeah. Well, we
Apologies.
just call it Haven, but yes.
Haven Well Within.
Yeah.
What is happening with that brand today?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, I this is like yeah, I told you I love all my children here in the portfolio, but Haven Well Within is a really, really exciting brand for us. So we launched it in October of 2020, and it's very anchored in, when women come home from work or running around, how do they think about treating themselves to what are they wearing? How do you get a good night's sleep? How do you wake up in the morning and, really from a mindfulness perspective, take good care of yourself? And so it's anchored in this idea that, how do we cocoon at home and create a little bit of a spa environment for ourselves at home? And the brand has grown. And we just opened our first store in Roosevelt Field. It is beautiful. And we're trying to get the brand out there and create some brand awareness. Obviously, it's a new little business, but when we get customers engaged, wow, they're head over heels. It is beautiful, well put together loungewear, sleepwear, intimates, and beauty wellness products. So, sort of a very well rounded experience for customers, for women, and super, super proud of it. It's got a little bit of a Scandinavian flair to it,
Shocking.
very minimalistic, beautiful, clean, simple. So, had maybe a little bit of influence there, but
Well, it's exciting to hear that you're doing another brand because I'm sure
yes,
with only 8 in the portfolio, it can get a
yeah.
little bit slow.
Yeah, I know, right? We got to have a little one coming up from behind.
Well, that sounds exciting. We'll have to circle back and learn more about Haven as
Terrific.
it continues to develop. Congratulations on that launch.
Thank you.
I must say, I am in awe of how you manage this $6 billion plus business across multiple companies, multiple time zones, multiple states. It's incredible.
Well, thank
With
you.
with that, we'll turn to rapid fire.
Sure.
Which brand has experienced the greatest transformation under your leadership? It's like asking about favorite child, maybe. I don't know, but I'm putting it out there.
I love all my children. Um, I, I'd say probably Loft. Yeah, we walked in when we acquired and had, one perspective. I was part of that. I told you my formative experiences were centered in Loft, and it's so different today in such a great way. Beautiful.
Favorite place to vacation?
Okay, so I love a good safari. So I'm gonna say Kenya or Botswana.
Do you have a mentor who's made the greatest impact on your career?
Many, many mentors across the board, but I'd say probably my aunt stands out as a role model for me.
Is there a CEO that you admire most?
Just retired, but I would say Doug McMillan, that I just what he did with Walmart under his leadership, both in terms of the transformation on the innovation side, the growth he's been able to create, and the culture, his leadership. So many aspects of what he accomplished, and I can't believe I'm putting it in past tense actually, because I've been watching and following him and learning from him as a CEO. I admire him quite a great deal, and I hope he somehow finds ways to insert himself in our industry in a continued way.
I think we'll see him show up on a few boards. I'm
Right? Don't you?
confident of that. Yes. Final question. Favorite streamed show?
Many. I'm a big show watcher, but I'd say probably The Crown. And I love everything about it. The history, I think, is fascinating to watch the history over time. It's beautiful. You can track the fashion along the decades as well, which is part of what I love. And a few intriguing moments. So, good story grounded in real sort of history and culture, and some good fashion elements.
And with that, we'll land this flight of the retail pilot, Lizanne Kindler. It's been a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you, Ken. Likewise. Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's flight of the retail pilot. And please give us a review on your favorite podcast platform.